Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow, and I am so excited for today's episode. I'm not even going to do a big lead up because I want to read her entire bio, which I don't usually do, but I am fangirling so hard about the fact that Corinne Crabtree is a guest on my podcast. And she is just one of the most badass business owners I know. And I can't wait for you guys to hear my interview with her. It's so awesome. And she's just a girl after my own heart. She swears, she's not about the bullshit, and she's just going to tell it how it is. And I feel like this is the interview that every female entrepreneur needs to hear. So without further ado, let me introduce Corinne Crabtree. She's a master certified weight and life coach on a mission to help every woman break generational curses in order to improve their personal health and wealth. She lost 100 pounds 15 years ago, and ever since, she's dedicated her life to teaching women how to do the same. She's one of the leading voices in the weight loss and business industry. She's the host of the wildly successful podcast, Losing 100 Pounds with Corinne, which has been downloaded over 50 million times in 160 countries. Over 1 million women have taken her free weight loss course, and she now serves 14,000 paid members in her No BS weight loss program. After being featured expert at the Life Coach School and having her business ranked number 1,052 in the Inc., the 5,000 fastest growing businesses of 2022, Corinne founded the No BS Business Women's Membership. This program provides online entrepreneurs with simple frameworks, tools, and focus they need to take action and build the business of their dreams. In addition, Corinne offers advanced weight loss life coach training for coaches, dietitians, and medical professionals who want to improve their clients' weight loss outcomes. You can catch Corinne on Facebook and Instagram talking shit about the diet and online marketing industry. It's one of my favorite things about her. Her greatest passion is helping women get rid of their old shitty thoughts by using self-love to never quit on themselves again. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Your relationship with bullshit. How many of you, raise your hands, no one's looking, have a relationship with some bullshit thoughts in your business? All right, that's what we're going to dig into today. I would love to hear your feedback on this episode. So definitely, if you're listening on Apple, drop in the reviews and leave me a review. I would love to know what you thought. I would love to connect with you in the Women Who Network Facebook group. I would love for you to connect with Corinne. I'm just so pumped about today's episode. All right, here we go. Hello, Corinne. Welcome to the Your Relationship With podcast.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so excited for our chat today. We are talking about your relationship with bullshit, which makes me laugh. I was a dating coach before I moved into business coaching, and my first podcast was called Love Starts Here. And my mom listened to the first couple episodes, and she called me and she was like, I just really think you should swear less. So, Mom, if you're listening to this one, just turn it off right now.
Oh
You're
gosh,
not gonna like it.
Funniest thing is, because if anybody knows me, I've got the world's largest potty mouth, and people write in so my podcast. I'm just dropping F-bombs everywhere. They write in, and they're like, "You should change your mouth. I'm sure your mother's, not proud of you and all this other stuff." Well, my mom works in customer service, and she answers those emails, and she's very often like, I just want to let you know this is Corinne's mother. I'm very proud of her. Thank you.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
You can release that worry right now.
Right. I know. I love that too. And when people commented on social media posts, you know what? You're right, random person. I'm going to change.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to change everything about myself.
I should quit saying fuck just so that you feel better about your life.
Right. So, okay, before we get started, tell everybody just a little bit about you and who you are and about your own relationship with bullshit.
So all my life, I was really overweight, just struggled with my weight since the age of 9. And then I had a little boy in my late 20s, early 30s. I started not being able to keep up with him and couldn't play with him. And I was 250 pounds, just living in the misery. And I decided I was going to lose weight, but I was not going to do any more bullshit diets. I was I cannot sit there and do a 180 in one day. Every diet I've ever done required me to morph into a whole fucking new human being. I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a small change every day. And I'm going to figure out weight loss. And I'm just like taking it slow. After about 18 months, I ended up losing the weight, but I also ended up losing a lot of my like inner critic. I learned how to talk better to myself all the way through. Like on days when I thought I wasn't doing enough, I'd be like, that is like, talk about bullshit. I was like, that's bullshit. Like I would tell myself, why bother if you're only going to go for a 15-minute walk? That's just not good enough. And I'd be like, no, what's not good enough is sitting on the couch doing nothing. That's the very definition of not good enough.
Right.
You going and doing something actually gets you closer to a better life. So I had to have these honest conversations with myself. And I realized as I was losing weight that the reason why this time felt easier was because I was having better and more honest conversations with myself. So when I lost the weight, I decided I was going to start a business. And I started just going out on the internets back in the day, finding forums, finding message boards, talking to people about weight loss. And the next thing I knew, I had a small following on my blog. And I just asked them, hey, you want to work with me, an email? And that's when I started. It was called Fit and Fat back in the day. I was just telling you before we got on here that I had a very glamorous name that I knew was going to last all my life. And then we changed it to No BS because it really, in about 2018, what I realized was that my program was about cutting through bullshit. All the bullshit diets that we've done, all the bullshit advice we've been giving, no longer talking to ourselves like assholes. Like it was all about like, there's going to be no fluff. There's not going to be no buff. There's just going to be me telling you the God's honest truth about how you can lose weight in a simple way. And so we changed the name back then, but I've been in maintenance for 16 years. So I lost 100 pounds. I've, been trucking along the whole time. And then I started my business in 2007. And actually, oh my God, I've been in maintenance. I swear, I have talked about this so much recently. I'm so terrible at math. I think I've been in maintenance 18 years now. So I lost my weight in 2005. And then in 2007, I started my business. That's when I officially kind of got things rolling.
Yeah, that's 18.
So it's just been a long time. Like it's been a long time. I'm an old pro at it. But I, for a long time, had to figure out, like, how was I going to grow this business? And one of the things that I relied on was not telling myself bullshit stories about being uneducated. Like I didn't go to college. I had to like just cut through a lot of it. So for me, like at the end of the day, the relationship with bullshit that I have is it's normal, but it shouldn't run your life anymore. And that's pretty much the relationship I've dealt with it, because I still have bullshit thoughts to this day. Like, I don't care how much money I make or how much weight I've lost. My brain is just like everybody else's. It just has random shit it likes to think about all the time. It's like, oh, by the way, did you know you're a terrible mother because Logan was bored today? It's like, it thinks those things all the time, but I had to really just decide, man, I'm always going to think bullshit stuff. It's just not going to run the show anymore. I'm smart enough to redirect my mind. That's all I ever needed, was to be smart enough to say, like, I hear you, but here's what we're going to think. And here's what we're going to do.
I love that you said that. And I think that's a really good point for a lot of people listening, especially if they're newer in business, because you've had a lot of success. And I think we tend to look at people like you who are, making the kind of money that we can't even fathom making, and flying on jets and going on trips and doing the things. And we think like, oh, there's so much bullshit in my business right now. But when I get to her level, like, she doesn't have bullshit. She doesn't have this mind drama. She doesn't have these thoughts she tells herself. She doesn't question, like, is this the right thing to do? Should I be doing something different in my business? And you're saying the bullshit never ends.
It never ends. And first of all,
good news, everyone.
Everybody, my dream is to fly on the jets. I'm still here's my version of living large. I fly Southwest, but only business class now.
Oh,
and I've flown so much in business class that I always get A1. And I joke around with all my friends because they like to fly first class and stuff. I like to get there direct. And so Southwest is always on time. And they almost always have a direct anywhere I'm going. And when I arrive on the plane, I always look at them and say, the general has arrived. If you fly Southwest, you will know what I'm talking about because you got to announce that you're general boarding when you come on board.
Yep. That's awesome. So the bullshit doesn't go away, but I would imagine it changes, right? The bullshit that you have to deal with now in the place of business that you are at, how is it different than the bullshit that you dealt with when you were just getting started or growing your business?
Yeah. So like when I first started, I was always worried, like I wouldn't make enough money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm never going to be successful and stuff. Then I, started making, like the years that I started making 7 figures, those years I worried I wouldn't be able to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I worried that it was never going to be enough. So like I have a son with autism, and I just I had this dream, like when I was first starting out, I'd make about $25,000, $30,000 a year for the first 10 years. And I would want to be one of those big earners, and I just thought, man, if your business is making over $1 million, you must never worry about shit.
Right.
Of course, then I make over $1 million, and it was harder on the money side. I started panicking that I was never going to make enough to take care of my child. Before that, I just always like, you know what? My husband's got it. He had a great job. And I just never had to worry. It never even got on my radar to worry about making enough money for Logan until I started making a lot of money. And when I started making a lot of money, I had more fears. Finally got over that part. Then I go into the 8-figure land. And then once I got to the 8-figure land, it started coming to like, I hope you can sustain it. What if someone takes your money? What if you lose it all? Like, it's just like, if you have like fear around not making enough money, when you have money, it just presents itself in a whole new way.
Mm-hmm. And then the story
like,
just changes.
Yeah. And then like the early days, I was just always like, it's so hard to do everything yourself. You're a one-trick pony. You have to wear all the hats. There was like all this just like bullshit that would come up around having to do it all. Mm-hmm. Well, then when you actually have a team, you're no longer moaning about doing it all. You're just like, oh my God, they don't do it the way I would do it.
Yep.
Like now you're just trading that. And then when I got to where I had a big team, where I got over the idea that they should all do it my way, then it became like, oh my God, you're responsible for so many people's financial futures. It's just, your brain is a bullshit making machine. Like I just tell people all the time, take any fact, your brain wants to make a story up. So like if somebody knocked on my door right now and all of your listeners heard it, everybody would create a story. Like, I wonder what she's getting delivered. Who's bothering her? Why doesn't she have a better mic if she makes so much money? Like people would just make up stories. So we just have to remember that, like when we think about that relationship with the bullshit, like I just always think your brain always offers up some crap. That's not the problem. The problem is when you choose to believe the crap, or you don't try to think anything else is possible when the crap comes in. And when we get to the point to where we can just be like, I can think anything and know that it's not a problem. I just need to examine it, think on it, decide, is this really the way I want to think about it? Is anything else possible? Then I'm released of like this idea that like, I shouldn't think this, or I can't grow because I keep thinking this. I'm like, no, you can grow. I am a classic example of a mismanaged mind can make money.
Yeah, that's an important point, I think, because I do think there's a lot of value in sort of making friends with the bullshit. And just like, that's why I wanted to ask you how it's different at 8 figures than it was at 5 figures, because I think once we realize that it's never going away, there's not a point that we get to that we're like, whew, success, no more worry, no more mind drama, no more bullshit. When we accept that it's not going away, then we can, I feel like that helps us like not resist it as much.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I first started, I worked a lot. Like I was a one-woman machine, especially as I was getting a little bit bigger. There was like a rough period between, like when I was making $25,000 or $30,000, I worked a lot, but it was like literally fun. Like I worked a lot because for me, I always thought of it as like a hobby business and stuff. Man, when I decided I was making a right at $500,000 a year and I wanted to go to seven figures. It was a grind. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was hard. Like I was working a lot and it wasn't hustling. It was just like, it was the in between stage of I didn't have a lot of help. I didn't really know how to hire people. Like I was trying to figure out like what parts am I letting go? And there was fear around letting go. Like it's like, well, I don't want to be working all the time, but I also don't want somebody else doing it because they'll probably do it wrong. So like your brain is just pitting you in these no-win situations. But there was like this just period where it was just really hard mentally. And I had to like be on to myself on like, all right, you're always going to be trading like just you're trading one set of worries or fears for another set of worries and fears. So you need a better relationship with your worries and fears. Because when I went from like having a team that could help me, I stopped working all the time, but then I had time to myself. And then I felt useless.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I wasn't doing enough. And I felt guilt. Like I can't tell you how many times, even to this day, like if I want to take a little bit more time off, I literally can now. Like I have people who can like, hey, I'm going to need you to do this because I'm going to be out of town this weekend or whatever. Then I'm feeling guilty. Like, well, now so-and-so's working. I should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you really have to have a healthy relationship with all the things your brain's going to offer because it wants to create drama. And when you are okay with your brain creating drama, then you can see it for what it really is and you can calm yourself down. But this idea that it's going away, that's a no, never going away. I have like just on weight loss terms, I've got an 85-year-old grandmother still living who still calls me to ask about Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and anything else. And like, she don't understand podcasts. She don't like me cussing. It's like, she's a Southern Baptist from Alabama. She's like, oh, she just knows I'm going to hell. I drink too. I'm like, for sure going to hell. But she'll still ask me this. I'm like, if an 85-year-old woman is still worried about her weight, we all going to have drama to the day we die.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you still have your first business, the No BS weight loss program. Mm-hmm. And then you also now have a No BS business program, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about that a little bit. When you are working with women specifically in business, whether they're just getting started or they're in those early years of trying to build some kind of consistent income, is there a certain bullshit story or a certain type of bullshit that you see commonly among those women?
Yeah, I would say there's two main ones. One is there's not enough time. That's probably the biggest one because not enough time is signaling I've not prioritized the important things. And a lot of times it's either I'm not prioritizing or I just don't know how. And I need to learn how to look at the things the business needs and assign value to it.
Yeah.
It's a learnable skill. Like I had to learn it. And it was one of the things that really helped me make more money was to start learning what's really important and what's not. So I can start with the money making things. Most of the time, the most important things in your business that deserve high priority are not the hair on fire emergencies. They're not the day-to-day things. There are things in your business you need to be doing that you have to carve time out for. And you have to give that A+ level work. And then all of those tasks that are hair on fire emergencies, the flow, the hum of the business and stuff, that's your B2C work at best.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times until newer entrepreneurs learn that, they feel frazzled and they think they don't have enough time because everything is like, I have all these things, they're all important, and I think they deserve my A+ effort.
And I have to do them all right now.
Yes. And because your brain doesn't realize until you start prioritizing, oh, some stuff actually can wait. I was actually talking about this concept earlier today about how when you really learn how to prioritize, you will see there are really important things. But when you prioritize, you start realizing like, well, this thing can't happen until this thing happens. And when you learn to do that, then your brain can free itself of worrying about downstream tasks or downstream projects that can't happen until some earlier things are actually in place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just helps you overall. And then I think the second biggest bullshit thing I hear them say, it's like, I don't have time. And it's like, but I've never done it before.
Mm.
And it's like, doing it before is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is what are you doing today and tomorrow? What you did yesterday, who the fuck cares? Like, I've never lost 100 pounds. I tell people all the time when it comes, like, weight loss is always easy for women to understand. It's like the day that I decided to lose weight, I had never lost 100 pounds before and kept it off. Thank God I didn't use that as the criteria for starting or for taking action. On day one, when you are an entrepreneur, you are like the rest of us, scared shitless. You don't think it's going to happen. You don't have experience. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. And you're going to have to figure a lot of stuff out. Every success story says, yeah, that was me on day one too. I felt all of that. I did a lot, but I just went ahead anyway. So many of them sit back and they're like, all right, I am waiting and praying for the day that I'm motivated. And like, I know what I'm doing and I feel confident I'll get there. And I'm like, if you're going to wait for that day, you're not going to get off the bricks. You're just not, because it doesn't come without effort. It comes with you trying things. It comes with you doing things anyway. Confidence, motivation, education, experience. It's just like, how the hell do you get experience? You go out and do some shit. Like, you can't just go to the Kroger and buy some experience.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's one thing that derails a lot of new business owners is they have this idea of like, I've never done it before, or I don't know how to do it. And so instead of what you're saying about like just keeping moving forward and taking steps and did that work and let's try this thing, I think a lot of times we get derailed with, I need to sign up for this program. I need to hire this coach. I need to read this book. I need to do this thing, right? Like we get into consumption mode because that makes us feel like we are working on our business and moving towards that place that doesn't exist where we feel like, oh, I'm totally ready now. And it wastes a lot of time and money, I think.
Yeah, you're just probably never going to be ready, so you might as well just go ahead now.
Right.
Waiting for ready day, it's a long wait. When it comes to courses and stuff, so I have like my own thoughts about it. Number one is I did take a lot of courses. That is, I attribute a lot of my success to being willing to go buy a course. But what makes me different than other people is when I buy a course, I'm not sitting there going like, well, I hope the course fixes my business. I'm like, I'm going to do everything the course tells me to, and I'm going to apply it in my business and make it work.
Yeah.
Like I don't buy, and this also comes in with the prioritization. I didn't, like when I first started, I did not go and buy coaches and all this. Like, I think we all should, like, I think coaches should always have a coach for their mind, but there's a difference between having a business coach and a mindset coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're going to hire a business coach, at least hire one that can help you think through your strategies, but you're not like, don't go hire a boss. If all you really want is someone to tell you what to do, then go fucking back to work.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what entrepreneurship is, like, so you can go get a job to get a boss. But with courses, if you're prioritizing, then you're not going to buy a bunch of courses. You're not going to become a course whore, because when you look at the priorities of the business and you see, I have a skill gap here, then you go buy a course or you hire someone to help you skill up. Mm-hmm. That's a big difference from going out and like just consuming and buying things, hoping it'll solve your problems. It's like, I always look for, here's my priorities. Am I lacking some of the skills? If I am, I'll go get a course that teaches me the skill. So like here recently, we've never run quizzes in our business. And I bought a course on quizzes because I've never done one. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get the course. I watched the course. I did everything the dude told me to do. Every single thing. Turned it over to my team and said, I went through, I built us our very first quiz. They're going to implement, but y'all, I wrote all the emails. I wrote the quiz. I studied the stuff. I told them what tech to go get. The only thing I'm not doing is like learning the tech itself and plugging it in. But I will tell you, Corinne, for 10 years, when I took a course and I had to learn tech, I just learned the tech. I built my own web pages for a long time. I ran MailChimp forever myself. Like I had to learn segmentation and stuff. Now, like I can afford to do that, but here I am at 8 figures and I'm still going out and buying a course online. But it's because I was like, I don't have the skill to develop a quiz.
Yeah.
And that's the next thing that we need to learn in our business. So I'm going to learn it and I'm going to do it the first time for my team. And then they're going to implement it. And then I'm going to teach them so that we all know now how to do it.
Yeah. It's much more intentional than just, I've never done this before. I guess I'll go buy a thing.
Yeah, no. And I even research my courses. Y'all don't just fall into anybody's freaking funnel and buy it.
Thank you.
Yes. Like if you get into someone's funnel and it sounds, especially if you, like I call it course whoring. If you are someone who loves to read every book, listen to every podcast, ask everybody before you do anything, and then buy courses on top, and you're doing a lot of that and not working, if something seems sexy, go out and find 2 of their competitors, fall into their funnel too, and actually make sure you're getting, like, at least look around, because a lot of times people are just, marketing's for real. A lot of people there's a lot of really good marketers out there with shitty courses. And if you will like go and look, you might fall into somebody who maybe they're not the best marketer, but when you look at their course, you're like, oh my God, this is actually some of the skills I need. Like you owe it to yourself to vet before you buy.
Yes.
Vet it. And then always make a promise with yourself. Whatever I buy, I don't buy anything else and I don't listen to anything else until I've done everything they've said and I've tested it to see if it works. And I've hung with it long enough to prove to myself I've skilled up, I've done everything, and it's either going to work and I'm going to make a lot of money, or I'm at least going to know I've got to tweak it or do something different to get it to work.
That's good. We could do a whole other episode on your relationship with bullshit and marketing.
Oh my God, yes, that is the truth.
So I highly doubt there is one person listening to this podcast who is like, I don't understand what they're saying. What bullshit? This is very confusing to me. So for all the people who are listening, who are like, yes, there's a lot of bullshit going on here. What are some things that they can start doing like right now today to either identify the bullshit that's happening for them or start changing those bullshit stories?
So I have a concept that I teach called the 4 N's. And this is basically how you take any bullshit thought that you have found, or you can take a habit, you can take a pattern. Basically, you just need to look in your entrepreneurial life and look for the places where you're stuck, where you're grinding, maybe it's not fun, whatever it is. You're scared, you feel anxiety, overwhelm. And then you're going to try to figure out like, what is the pattern and what is the thinking behind the pattern? So what is it that I think that scares me? What is it that I think that whatever? So the first thing you're going to do is just notice. That's the first N. We have to notice these things, because if we don't notice our patterns, our habits, and our thinking, we can't solve anything. Solutions only come when the problem has been presented. Solutions don't come for any other reason. The next N is we have to normalize our bullshit. This is what we go back to when I always tell people, there's lots of reasons why we think things. Sometimes it's stuff we heard when we were a kid. Maybe somebody said, you're a slow learner when you were in school. And so now your relationship in your business, like, it's really hard for me. I'm such a slow learner. And they talk about, and that's why I'm course whoring all the time. So you want to normalize it. If you don't know why this thought is presenting, like you can't trace it back to your past or anything, you can always just go with, it's because I have a story making mind, just like every other human. My brain is always going to create something scary or something wild around something that I might be uncertain about or that I might be afraid can't happen for me. So that will normalize it. Right there, a lot of times what I notice is when people normalize something, they immediately get relief because they're not sitting there thinking they're crazy or that they shouldn't, especially coaches. We're the worst at saying, I shouldn't be thinking this.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you do that, if you judge your thinking and you feel gross about your thinking, you'll stop listening for it. And the moment you quit listening, it now runs the show. So the next step is now we just neutralize whatever it is we've found. So I've normalized it. Now it's like, so what are the facts? I know my brain is a fucking story making machine. So what is actually happening? And you just make it boring. You should tell it in such a way that no one is like, tell me more and salivating at the mouth. It should just be like, okay. Like it should just be so boring. Then the last one is once you have that cleansed palate where we just have the facts, we go into next best thought or action. You just want something that's equally as true. So like say you notice that you keep telling yourself, it just takes me forever to learn things. I'm such a slow learner. And you've normalized it. And the neutral part of this is I'm buying a course or I'm learning how to set up a funnel. The next best thought is something that feels equally as true as being a slow learner. So you might want to think something like, I've often been told I'm a slow learner in my past, but what I'm figuring out is I just need to take a course. You might even tell yourself like, well, there's really no thing as a slow learner. There's just people who learn and there's different paces because that's equally as true. Like some people, just have different paces at how they learn, but that doesn't make you slow. And so you want to give yourself a thought in the next best thought area that feels equally as true as your bullshit. Because if it's not equally feeling as true, your brain will never latch on to anything else. It's always going to go with whatever feels the truest to you. And then you just pick an action. So if I was thinking that there's only paces, then what would I do? I would schedule like 30 minutes a day to do the course. And I would dead stop at 30 minutes. Or if like a lot of my members who've had a lot of diet trauma in the weight loss side, they schedule to listen to every single lesson twice. They're like, I hear it one time, it's never going to click for me. I hear it twice, then it like starts to make some sense. Yeah. So you might say like, my best action is to listen to the lessons 2 times before I move on to the next one. So that 4 ends helps you develop a better relationship with all of the shit that we think.
That's really good. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my favorite lesson. Like of all the things I've created for my memberships, like we're getting ready to teach it inside the business too. It's my favorite because it just lets us have our natural thinking and apply our crafted thinking on top.
Yeah. Yeah. And in a very simple way. Not in a way that we have to like go through 9 steps to try to figure out how we're going to feel better.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So Corinne, if people want to connect with you more, if they want to hear more about what you do, either for weight loss or for business, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
On the weight loss side, they can go to nobsweightloss.com. You can find out all kinds of information about my podcast, my free course. Everything is on that website. And if they want to do the business, it's nobsbusinesswomen.com. And you can read all about what we're doing over there in the business side too.
Awesome. I will post both those links in the show notes so everybody can get in touch with you. And I so appreciate your time coming on the podcast today. This has been awesome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. If you loved what you heard and you want to connect more with me and other incredible female entrepreneurs just like you who are doing things to actually move the needle forward in their business rather than just wasting time with traditional gross networking and other yucky sales tactics, check out the Women Who Network Facebook group. We have 2 monthly speed networking events where you can meet tons of other incredible women, make connections, find opportunities for collaborations, for speaking opportunities, whatever it is you're looking for, you will find at these events. So drop in the show notes and come connect with us. We'd love to meet you.